G'day team, it's Kris speaking. Welcome or welcome back. I am coming to you from my floor because I know that you'll want to see a dog and she's here, so I need to work around her, which is basically just what happens anyway because she's a princess. Aren't you? Yes. Oh, yes. Anyway, we are at the second last video of the Building Your Support Network series, and today we're going to be talking about work. Now, my coming out story at work was so long and convoluted, and if I haven't put a video up on this channel about it, I will do so. I'll make a note, a physical note, not a mental note, because if you follow this channel for a long time, you know that I say I'm going to make videos and then I forget them. So I actually have a document to keep note of things that I say that I'm going to make so that I can make them for you. Now, building a support network at work can be really difficult, or it can be easy, depending on what sort of workplace that you're in. Easy is the wrong word. I don't think coming out to anyone is necessarily easy, but it can be easier, is probably a better way of putting it. For me, I work in a multinational company. I work for a company that is in 220 countries. Good luck figuring it out. But that gives you the sort of scope of how big the place that I work at is. In my building alone, particularly over the course of the pandemic, we now have close to, I think it's 400 employees in Brisbane alone, which is nuts. Before the pandemic, there was about 200, so we've had to employ quite a lot of people over the last sort of 12 months or so. Within those 200 people that were there when I came out, there were multiple departments. My department is quite small. I've got about 22 people in my department, and then you've got other larger departments. So, building my support network within such a big place was daunting. The first thing I did, I had made a video about this before, I'll find it and I'll link it somewhere. I talked to my boss, and I hadn't told anybody else. I work with two very close friends, and my partner works in the same workplace, so those three people knew before I told my boss. My suggestion for building your support network is to find a friend within your workplace, just one or two, the people that you hang out with most, and tell them. Test it on them, get them to use your name and your pronouns, and see how it feels if you want to take that next step. Coming out at work, particularly in a large organisation, or even if there's more than a handful of people, it's tough. I will be honest, and I'll tell you that I nearly quit over having to come out somewhere that I had been previously known by my birth name and my gender assigned at birth. It was hard. It was hard, and it remained hard for a good 12 months after I came out as socially transitioning. And even in the start of my medical transition, it was not easy. Find some people, find your friends, and the next person that you want to get on side is probably your direct boss or manager. This does not go down well for all people. Some of us work in conservative workplaces where your bosses aren't going to take this lightly, which is why I suggest finding a friend first, because if that meeting doesn't go down well, you want a support network around you. That can be your friends, that can be your family, that can be, anyone that supports you up until this point, but you are going to want a support network within your workplace, just in case that meeting with your boss doesn't go very well, or they're not understanding, or they're not willing to understand. I've come across a lot of people who don't understand, but are willing to make the effort and go and research or ask more questions of me. And whilst that can be dysphoria inducing, at least they genuinely care. So I went to my boss, and my boss was like, okay, I don't understand it necessarily, but I'm willing to work with you. I'm willing to put in the effort. What does that mean? What do you need? How can I help? I had a really good meeting with my boss. That being said, my manager is probably one of the best managers I've ever experienced in any workplace that I've worked in. She is phenomenal, and the picture of what I would envision the world's top management to be. It then trickled down the line. So I needed to come out to my team. I didn't necessarily want to come out to 200 people and have that conversation over and over and over again, but I wanted to tell enough people that that information would spread naturally through the call center, so I didn't have to tell everybody or get harassed by everybody. we did it in a way where I put an email up. Now I had particular, I wouldn't say friends, but acquaintances within my work group, which I am now friends with, but at that time, who were still very supportive of me. And I talked to 3 people in particular. They're all going to remain nameless for their own privacy. And I just sort of started having conversations with them quietly on the side. And those people became my support network within my team dynamic, as well as having my manager on side was a big thing for me. It meant that when I asked if I could use the male bathroom, my manager took all of the men, or cis men, because there were no other transgender people at the workplace in that time, and I think there are now, but they're stealth, so I'm not going to talk about them. She took all of the cis males aside into her office and said, Kris is going to be using the male bathroom now. It wasn't a question of, are you comfortable with it? It was, this is what he is doing now. Now, the bathroom thing is still a bit iffy for me, and I don't really use it at work. I am getting better, but I don't necessarily use it 100% of the time. I've got a unisex bathroom, which I'm much more comfortable using, as you've probably heard me say about 20 times by now. Anyway, this was a rant, and I apologise, but building your support network in the workplace, my suggestion is to tell your closest work friends first. It doesn't have to be all of them. I had 2 that I told, as well as my partner who works in the same place. Once that was comfortable, I then talked to my manager, who helped me come up with an email and come out to the rest of the team, as well as picking a few select people within that team to support me, and everyone was pretty good. My coming out experience at work was pretty good, and I know that's not the case for everyone. If you need help coming out at work, or you want to talk to me a little bit more about how I came out to certain people at work, I was met with a little bit of negative feedback from one particular individual, and I'm happy to talk to you about that in private. My Instagram DMs are always open if you want to have a chat at all. Not a problem. I'll link my Instagram down below. Anyway, if you like the content, give it a thumbs up. If you want to see more of it, then click on my face. If you like Ariana, I promise to put her in more videos once we move, and I'll catch you next time. Okay, bye.